Your mind is your cockpit. If you don't control it, someone else will. Every morning you wake up, you step into the command center of your life. You strap in, adjust your settings, and take on the mission ahead. But most people don't realize they're handing over the controls. They let emotions steer them. They let other people's opinions hit the throttle. They allow fear to ground them. The cockpit becomes chaotic, and before they know it, they're crashing into patterns they swore they'd outgrown. Control your mind, or you'll spend your life reacting instead of leading. Your thoughts are not random. They are tools, weapons, or weaknesses depending on how you use them. The battlefield starts the moment your eyes open, and the war is waged in your mindset. If your first thoughts are doubt, regret, fear, or resentment, then your day is already hijacked. Someone, somewhere, something, maybe even your own past, is already flying your plane. You've handed over the controls without even realizing it. You can't fly straight when the voice in your head isn't your own or isn't on your side. People don't just influence you with their words. They infiltrate your cockpit through proximity. The closer someone is to you, the more access they have to your mindset. That's why spotting the wrong voices is critical. Some of the most dangerous saboteurs are friends who act supportive but feed you subtle fear. Family who pretend to guide you but remind you of every past failure. Voices that sound familiar but aren't aligned with your mission. They don't need to scream to steer you. They just whisper enough doubt to make you second guess your direction. That's how the hijack happens, slowly, quietly. You start adjusting your altitude to match their expectations. You fly under your capacity so they won't feel uncomfortable. You change your course to avoid their criticism. You stay grounded because their voice tells you you're not ready. But their comfort is not your compass. Their opinions are not your radar. If they don't understand your vision, they can't help you navigate. But still, you listen, and in listening, you give away control. Mastering your cockpit means understanding that mental discipline is not a one-time event. It's a constant check-in. Every thought must be examined. Every voice must be filtered. Every influence must be questioned. It means being relentless with what you allow in your airspace. Just like a pilot doesn't let anyone touch the flight instruments, you don't let anyone tamper with your mindset, especially not those who benefit from your confusion or fear. The moment you stop monitoring your thoughts, autopilot kicks in. And autopilot doesn't take you toward growth. It takes you back to default, back to comfort, back to survival. And in survival mode, you don't build, you don't lead, you don't expand. You react, you cope, you stall. Leadership starts in your head long before it shows up in your habits. You don't get to influence your life if you're not even influencing your internal dialogue. Clarity is your flight plan. Discipline is your co-pilot. And discernment is your radar system. That's how you protect your altitude. Because you'll never rise higher than the standard you set for your thoughts. You can't build a high-performing life with a sabotage mindset. You have to scan for emotional intrusions the way a pilot scans for mechanical ones. One bad pattern, one unchecked voice, one unresolved trauma. Those can ground a whole mission. People will try to speak over your inner voice because they know if they can distract you, they can delay you. They'll tell you you're being too intense, too ambitious, too distant, too different. That's code for you're not as easy to control anymore. But this cockpit was never meant to be communal. It was built for one leader, you. So if the thoughts coming in don't align with where you're going, they don't get to stay. If the advice doesn't serve your purpose, it doesn't belong on your frequency. Mastering your mindset is not about pretending the voices aren't there. It's about knowing which ones are echoes of the past and which ones are part of your mission brief today. Your mindset determines your altitude, and the wrong people are sabotage disguised as support. You can have all the skill, drive, vision, and potential in the world, but if your mindset is infected by voices that disguise sabotage as support, you'll never get off the runway. Mindset isn't just how you think, it's how you see. It's the lens through which you interpret pressure, rejection, doubt, and resistance. When that lens is fogged by toxic voices posing as mentors, friends, or even family, you start flying blind. Some people don't push you forward. They just hang close enough to make it look like they care. They don't challenge you. They coddle your excuses and validate your fears. They act concerned with you, but their concern is really control. Their advice sounds sweet, but it clips your wings. And because they wear the mask of support, you let them into the cockpit of your mind. You give them access to your thoughts, your goals, your pain, your progress. Before long, their voice becomes louder than your own, you. They don't tell you can't. They just make you doubt if you should. That doubt grows roots. And doubt is the fastest way to ground a high flyer. When you're surrounded by the wrong people, they don't even have to sabotage you overtly. They just have to influence your belief system subtly, They'll tell you to play it safe, but what they mean is stay small. They'll say, don't rush, when what they mean is don't rise too fast. It makes us uncomfortable. They'll act like they're protecting you, but what they're really doing is protecting the version of you that was easy for them to handle, the version that didn't challenge them, the version that didn't rise above their own limitations. Your mindset is a high-performance engine, but if the fuel line is tainted with emotional manipulation, with disguised jealousy, with inherited fear from people too scared to change, it won't run at full capacity. You'll sputter. You'll coast. You'll stall. And the whole time you'll think it's your fault that you weren't disciplined enough, that you lacked something others had. But it wasn't you. It was the input. Your mind is powerful, but it mirrors what it absorbs. And if all it absorbs is subtle sabotage masked as love, masked as friendship, masked as loyalty, then all it reflects back is confusion and hesitation. When you elevate your mindset, you elevate everything, But don't be surprised when your elevation reveals those who were only comfortable with your ground level. Some people support you as long as you stay within range of their own self-worth. The second you break orbit, their tone changes, their support becomes silence, their presence turns into pressure. They'll start calling your ambition arrogance, your focus obsession, your discipline coldness. Not because you've changed, but because they're watching you escape the emotional gravity they're still trapped in. You'll know them by how they react to your growth. True support will sharpen your mindset, not soften your standards. It'll call you higher, not drag you down in the name of humility. Real allies don't guilt you for rising. They gas you up to go further. But the wrong people, the ones who disguise their own insecurities as wisdom, they'll start highlighting your flaws. They'll call attention to your past. They'll question your timing. They'll plant seeds of doubt and call it love. But their love is laced with fear. And their fear isn't about your failure. It's about your success without them. Mindset isn't protected by silence. It's fortified by awareness. You have to audit the voices you've allowed into your inner space. Ask yourself, does this person fuel clarity or create confusion? Do they respect your boundaries or constantly test them? Do they empower your thinking or dilute it? Because sabotage doesn't always show up in explosions. Sometimes it shows up in advice, in sarcasm, in backhanded compliments, in passive-aggressive encouragement that sounds supportive on the surface but is soaked in doubt underneath. If you want to fly at high altitudes, you need a mindset free from manipulation. You need to know who's on your frequency and who's feeding static, Because when turbulence hits, and it always does, it's your mindset that keeps you in flight, not talent, not approval, just mindset. And the wrong people, no matter how close, will always be the wind dragging against your wings if you're not alert enough to recognize them. Family loyalty should never require the death of your peace, There is a dangerous lie that's passed down through generations like a badge of honor, that blood automatically earns a lifetime pass to your mind, your time, your emotional energy. That family gets a free pass to violate boundaries, manipulate with guilt, drain your spirit, and still be embraced unconditionally. But loyalty, real loyalty, isn't a one-way contract written in blood, It's an agreement built on mutual respect, honesty, and care. If maintaining the family bond means you have to sacrifice your sanity, then what you're holding on to isn't love, it's bondage, You don't owe your emotional destruction to people just because they share your DNA. If someone calls themselves family but consistently disrespects your boundaries, mocks your healing, dismisses your growth, and benefits from your silence, what exactly are you being loyal to? Loyalty isn't measured by how much you tolerate. It's proven by how much truth you can stand in the presence of. And if your truth, your peace, your healing, your growth make you the villain in your own home, then the environment is toxic, not your decision to protect yourself. Too many people are groomed to believe that endurance equals love, that putting up with toxic behavior from family members is a sign of strength or moral superiority. But that's not love. That's emotional imprisonment. Strength isn't in how long you can survive dysfunction. It's in how fiercely you protect your peace once you recognize it's under attack. And sometimes You. The most aggressive attackers wear familiar faces and speak in soft tones. They guilt you when you say no. They shame you for setting limits. You. They turn your healing into betrayal because your wounds kept them comfortable. There's this myth that says family should always come first. You. But when putting them first constantly puts you last in health, last in clarity, last in joy, then the hierarchy is broken. Real family doesn't weaponize your sense of obligation. You. Real love doesn't come at the cost of your soul. And yet, countless people stay in emotionally abusive patterns simply because the abuser is family. That word becomes a shield for manipulation. You. A wall that deflects accountability, a cloak to hide years of emotional theft. You don't become disloyal by distancing yourself from dysfunction. You become disloyal to yourself by pretending you're okay with it. Peace is not passive, it's power. And anyone who demands your loyalty at the expense of your peace isn't asking for love. They're asking for submission. They want the version of you that's easy to control, easy to shame, easy to manipulate. But the moment you stop complying, stop explaining, stop justifying, they feel betrayed not because you did something wrong, but because you finally did something right for you. This internal battle between loyalty and peace is where so many people stay stuck. They keep trying to reconcile the illusion of what family should be with the painful truth of what it is. And the gap between those two realities eats away at their confidence, their clarity, their purpose. You weren't born to keep toxic traditions alive. You weren't built to be the emotional punching bag for other people's unhealed trauma. You don't owe lifelong access to people who refuse to grow. Peace is not the absence of noise. It's the presence of alignment. And when your spirit is constantly clashing with the environment you were raised in, you have to make a decision. Stay loyal to the narrative you were handed or become the author of a new legacy. One where loyalty is mutual, where love is respectful, and where peace isn't something you beg for. It's something you protect with your life. The hardest part isn't choosing peace over loyalty. It's dealing with the backlash from those who benefited from your silence. But their discomfort is not your crisis to manage. You're not dishonoring anyone by choosing yourself. In fact, choosing your peace may be the first real act of love you've ever given to the younger version of you, the one who stayed quiet, tolerated pain, and called it normal because nobody taught them any different. Now you know. And knowing means you have a choice, a real one, One that doesn't demand the death of your peace just to keep wearing a title that's been used more like a weapon than a bond. You can't fly with anchors tied to your mindset. Cut them loose. Imagine trying to soar through the sky while dragging heavy weights behind you. That's what it's like to carry mental and emotional baggage into your daily life. These anchors come in many forms: doubt, past trauma, toxic relationships, limiting beliefs. And they're all designed to keep you grounded when you were meant to be airborne. The problem isn't that you have these weights, it's that you've accepted them as permanent fixtures instead of obstacles to overcome. Your mindset is your flight system, But if it's tethered by anchors you refuse to cut loose, you'll never reach the altitude your soul is built for. Anchors come in the form of old stories you tell yourself, stories of failure, Rejection, unworthiness, they're the voices replaying mistakes like they define your identity. They're the fears whispering that you're not enough, that success is for others, that happiness is temporary. When you carry these mental weights, you're not just limiting your thoughts, you're limiting your entire existence. You start to settle for less than you deserve because anchors convince you that's all you're capable of. And slowly, the weight drags you down until you're exhausted from fighting to stay afloat. But here's the truth: those anchors only hold power because you let them. They were never given to you as permanent burdens. They were handed to you as lessons to learn from, wounds to heal you, and memories to grow beyond. Yet, so many people cling to their anchors out of fear. The fear of change, the fear of the unknown, the fear that cutting loose means losing a part of themselves. But you don't lose yourself by shedding toxic attachments. You find yourself. You reclaim the parts of your spirit that have been buried beneath guilt, shame, and expectation. Toxic relationships are some of the heaviest anchors you can carry. Whether it's family members who dismiss your progress, friends who subtly sabotage your confidence, or partners who thrive on your self-doubt, these people weigh down your mindset by feeding the anchors. They remind you of your past failures, question your dreams, and guilt you for setting boundaries. They don't want to see you fly higher because your elevation threatens their control. And the longer you keep these people tethered to your emotional cockpit, the harder it is to lift off you. Cutting anchors loose means you have to get honest with yourself. What beliefs, patterns, and relationships are holding you back? What stories have you been telling yourself that keep you small? It's uncomfortable work because those anchors have been with you for so long that they feel like a part of you. But growth never comes from comfort zones. It comes from confronting what weighs you down and choosing freedom instead. Cutting loose doesn't mean severing ties with your past or your people. It means releasing what no longer serves your future. Mastering your mindset requires ruthless clarity about what belongs in your mental airspace. You don't get to fly high if you're constantly tethered to old doubts or toxic influences. You have to prioritize your mental altitude over pleasing others. You have to make peace with the discomfort of cutting loose what's familiar but destructive. Every time you let go of an anchor, you gain more lift, more speed, more freedom to navigate the sky on your own terms. Anchors are sneaky. They disguise themselves as loyalty, as history, as love. But real love never ties someone down. Real loyalty encourages growth and elevation. And history is a lesson, not a prison. When you hold on to anchors because you think you owe people or past versions of yourself something, you're giving away your power. You're choosing chains over wings. You're letting fear dictate your flight plan. If you want to master your life, you have to master your mindset first. That means cutting loose the anchors that weigh you down. That means refusing to let old stories and toxic ties dictate your altitude. Because the sky is not your limit, it's your invitation. But you can't accept that invitation while dragging anchors heavy enough to crush your spirit. Choose freedom, choose elevation, choose to cut loose.